Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all about that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy Devin and your other boy Nick. I just had to make that awkward intro. But we want to welcome you back to another Friday Night Live. And today's episode, as you guys saw in the story, it's going to be that people want the prize, but they don't want the price, right? And it's understanding that there is sacrifice behind success in anything, in any area of life. And that's what we're going to kind of dive into today, because a lot of people see the end result. And we kind of talked about this on one of the previous episodes. A lot of people see the tip of the iceberg when someone's already achieved this success, when someone has already, achieved greatness, and people want that, but they don't realize the sacrifice that it takes. And even if they do realize the sacrifice that it takes, they just don't want to put that work in, right? So let's dive into it.
Dive in.
Let's start off, because this is one of those things that you hear on like social media a bunch, right? And this isn't a false statement, right? There's no such thing as an overnight success, right? So what in your eyes, what is the definition of like an overnight success, like what people are alluding to, as well as like what's the illusion of the overnight success, like going back into that iceberg theory that we were talking about last time, right?
Well, as far as like an overnight success, it's kind of like when people see, kind of like just the outcome, that the result that people have been putting in, like that the bottom half or the main bottom half of the iceberg. Like they don't see all the work, all the sacrifice that was put in, to finally attain or get that outcome that you were wanting. Like that's what people are that's all they see is just the result of it, but they don't see all the work that was required and that was put in to get that final outcome.
So like, why do you think that people believe in like overnight success, or why do you think that people believe that there is a fast way or a shortcut? Because a lot of like the social media gurus will say that, join my program or join my course, and it's, you can do this and you can open up a gym in 1 week, kind of thing. So what's the illusion, or why do people tend to kind of fall into that psychology and believe that, even though they know it's probably not true?
Great question. I'm trying to think. I'm like how would I articulate that? Well, I think they don't see the, well, if somebody on like social media was like kind of wanting to sell or showing them like, the end result, or like you can do this and then you're going to get this really fast, but they don't see like all the mistakes and all the practices that was put in to get that certain system that whatever works, it didn't work on the first try. Right. Does that make sense? Is that what you kind of on to? Like, for example, if there's like a process that works in, whatever you're trying to do or whatever you're trying to attain, it's like you didn't get that on the first try. Kind of like the dude that invented the light bulb.
Who invented the light bulb?
Thomas Jefferson. No, I'm kidding. Benjamin Franklin. Wait. It's been a long day. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
Wait, say his name.
That's okay. Go for it. Just keep going.
But all they see is like, him inventing the light bulb, or like that final try, or that final thing that he tested. I'm sure somebody's gonna call it out in the comments, but they just see that final last try that was done to finally get that light bulb to work. But they don't see I don't know how many other times that he's attempted, to get it to work. They don't see that. Mm-hmm. So that's like the facade that most people think, that it's like, oh, it's just one quick thing or one quick solution, or this is the way, and that's it. And then you're going to get there. But there's, the big missing piece of that is all the other failed attempts, all the work that was put into the failed attempts to ultimately get to that final result.
Yeah. I mean, kind of going back, like what we were talking about last time is like the iceberg theory, right? Everyone basically sees the tip of the iceberg, right? But you don't see 90% of it, which is underwater. And that's what it took to essentially get the tip out. But it's one of those things where an overnight success, you'll hear like the true entrepreneurs, like they're a 10-year overnight success.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm a 3-year overnight success. Like our gym, our franchise, like it's a 3-year overnight success. Right. We launched the franchise, or we launched the gym, then we launched the franchise. That took 2 years to even start that process, and now during the 3rd year is when it's actually taking off. So people will congratulate us, and they're like, man, you guys are so lucky, blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, there's no luck, that's fucking work. Like
G actually said that in a comment, which we should throw them a question in a second. G said, people think you are lucky but don't know what you had to get there.
Yep.
That's exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, you create your own luck, right? The price that you have to pay to reach your goals, others that don't want to pay that price consider luck, right? You put yourself in the position, you put yourself in a certain area during the actions that you did or didn't do, which allowed you to have the opportunities that you have or didn't have. So again, luck is only really your actions or inactions,
right,
which lead to your opportunities. But go ahead, ask them a question. Let's dive into some questions.
All right. So for everybody that's watching, so name some things that you guys are trying to attain, or whatever your goals are, and things that you have had to sacrifice, or that you didn't find was easy to do, or to give up, or to stay on course, but in realizing that the things that were necessary for you to make the right steps forward or even achieve the goal.
Yeah. So what is your goal, and what is the sacrifices that you are currently making to achieve that goal?
Yeah.
In a 1-sentence question versus 3 paragraphs. So, and the reason why we ask this is because, like, the price of success, it requires your sacrifice, right? Whether it's going to be from your time, whether it's the comfort, if let's say it's fitness, the comfort of eating whatever you want, right? Eating whenever you want, going out with friends. If it's business like us, like I can say from my experience, and I already know on Nick's end too, like we don't go out, like not because we're antisocial. I mean, kind of too, but it's one of those things where we don't go out because that is a sacrifice we're paying now for the future, right? So you have, for us, it's like you'll have friends that are going on, lavish trips and doing all this, and and that's cool. But in my mind, because I won't speak for you on this, like I've had this conversation like with my wife too. It's like we could do those things now, and we can budget, we could save, we can go on, whatever trip you want, or we can sacrifice now, put in the work, and then we can go on whatever trip whenever you want. Without having to worry about budgeting, without having to worry about all those kind of things. There's a sacrifice you pay for the lifestyle that you want, for the body that you want, for the career that you want, for the business that you want, right? So are you willing to pay your dues, essentially, right? And your dues are your sacrifice. Is it your comfort? Is it your sleep? Like, I mean, a lot of the members, say even from the videos in here, like some of my sacrifices when I was doing my end of mine and Nick's business is the launching the franchise. Like I didn't sleep much and I wasn't eating much, right? And it wasn't because I just honestly wasn't thinking about it, but also I had to sacrifice something, which was sleep, so that I can get it launched as fast as I wanted to get it launched, right? And now it's not that I don't have to sacrifice that as much. I'm not saying I don't sacrifice that, just not as much.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's unfortunate, but it's the kind of like the hard truth, where kind of like what you put in the like the little quotations on the post. It's like you want the prize without paying the price. It's like we can't expect to get something without putting in the required work, and I think understanding, like not just understanding, but like fully comprehending like what that work means, and this goes into whatever it may be, obviously in different avenues and whatever our goals are, but it's like it's long, tedious work if the goal is like worth it enough. Right. And I think that's where most people like falter and like kind of one, some people don't even start, or two, as soon as they realize that how much work it actually takes to attain it, that's when they kind of just like back out or like kind of, you know, give up. But it's like, once we understand like the true definition of the work and the sacrifice required to get to what we're trying to do, accomplish, or what we're trying to get, it really does take like commitment on yourself. Like, how bad do you want it, and am I willing to put in the work to get this?
Right.
You know, kind of like a simple example that obviously we work in the health and fitness industry. Like, people want a six pack, people want big muscles, but when they understand the work and the sacrifices, the work meaning consistent nutrition, consistently eating right, consistently working out and properly working out right, is a lot of work. It hurts. It's hard. You know what I mean? You're sacrificing eating whatever you want, whenever you want. You know, and undergoing like the pain, like literal physical pain when you're working out correctly, and you know you're training hard and you're going up in weight to build your muscle. It's like most people like don't want to do that. They don't want to undergo the necessary struggle, the necessary pressure to get to the other side.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's painful physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you know, and it even goes into like some of the things that I'm talking with people now on like the franchise side. Like, you have to take a risk and sacrifice something in order to achieve it, right? So like some of the people, you know, we have a person coming on too that's like their sacrifice is a financial sacrifice, just like any entrepreneur. But let's say you had a career, and not even talk about our franchise or anything, but let's say you want to be an entrepreneur, right? You're going to have to sacrifice some time out of your day, especially if you already have a current career, on top of your normal work hours to launch your business, right? And then some businesses like ours, when we first started, like we had to sacrifice both of our jobs essentially to launch the business, because we didn't have, like, we bootstrapped in the beginning, right? Now, luckily, when franchisees come on, they don't have to do that. But for us, like, our sacrifice was not only our time, but it was literally both of us making good money. And it was like, okay, well, we're burning the boats and we're going all in, right? So again, sacrifices pay off, but you have to be willing to basically not give up and be willing to basically, you know, take the arrows in the back and, you know, keep trucking forward.
Yeah, it's what you just said is literally what we mentioned in the beginning about the overnight success thing. It's like, once our franchisees are up and running, and anybody on the outside, on the external end, that, you know, they ask like the franchisees that have their own locations and stuff, oh, you know, you got this awesome program that fits everybody, and like all they see is like the program already done. But what they don't see is the bottom of the iceberg, which is us. Like, and that's what most people need to understand, is like, when you have a goal, that sacrifice and the work that pretty much like Devin and I have put in and are putting in and will continue to put in is what it takes to get the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. I mean, even like, I think a lot of people see and value the result, right? And they don't understand that it's a process. And like, we have, you know, the saying that it's, you know, not one of our sayings, obviously it's a well-known saying, but trust the process. And it's not, the quote isn't desire the results, or, you know, get the results. It's trust the process, because the process is everything. And if you don't realize that there's a process to it, you're going to be hit with a rude awakening, because there's a process to everything that you want to achieve in life, right? Is there anyone in the comments yet?
Not yet. How about
the hell? Let's go.
Come on, guys, with the comments.
Let's go with this. So what has there been a goal or something that you have wanted, and then you realized that the process was something that you weren't willing to go through, right? So that's question 2. Question 1, what is your current goal, and what are the sacrifices you are currently making to achieve that goal?
Yeah. Did you guys hear that? So let us know in the comments, or you can also let us know what are current sacrifices that you guys have been struggling with, or that you have struggled with before, or that you're currently struggling with, like the sacrifices that you're having to make And if you guys do need any like, you know, mindset like advice or help as far as like how to overcome those, you know, mental barriers of what you have to sacrifice. Question. So while everybody drops their answers in the comments, next talking point.
I'm having technical difficulties over here.
Oh.
What is the role of consistency and discipline have in basically the sacrifices, but also realizing that the process, right? So with the process, knowing the process, because like you might not know the process yet also, and that's okay. Like that's life. You might not know that there's a certain factor in the process that you need to get done to excel you to the next thing. But taking the first step and going through that process, the initial stages of what you do know will allow those other things to unveil themselves. So in your mind, like how does discipline, how does consistency play a role in all that?
Right. Well, consistency and discipline, in my opinion, is the foundation in pretty much anything that we do. Meaning, when we understand, okay, so we already have a goal set, right? And whatever it is, and it can be multiple goals at the same time. But what they have as a common denominator is when we start to realize the work that is required to be put in to get there, it's getting hit with that pain train. And is the way I like to say it. It's like getting hit with that realization, like, holy crap, this is hard to do this every single day. And even especially on the days that I don't want to do it. But that's why, kind of like what we mentioned in the previous podcast, it's the actions that we take and the actions that we do, even on the times that we don't want to do them. Those are like the bricks that we build so that when things aren't looking as bright, you know, when it doesn't seem like it seems like the goal is getting further away or we're not making any steps forward towards it, that's when, you know, the consistency that you put in, just putting in the work every single day and applying the discipline, because again, discipline is a skill. Mm-hmm. It's something that is practiced. Those are the things that's going to keep you moving forward and keep your steps moving forward in the right direction, even when it doesn't seem like that at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And even when it doesn't seem like things are going the right way, you know, at the moment, realize that the whole reason like we do this podcast, like the Mindset Cafe, there is a mindset behind it. And it's called a growth mindset, right? There's a fixed mindset or there's a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is basically your limited beliefs. You only think it's black or white, where growth mindset is more of that gray area, right? You can take a lesson from anything. You can extract a lesson from anything, any conversation, any setback, any obstacle, any win. Mm-hmm. You can extract a lesson, right? So you have to realize that even if there's a setback or even if there's a hurdle that you need to overcome, there's a lesson in it. Like, realize that. And each hurdle or each obstacle that you overcome or that gets presented to you, you can look at it as like, damn, why me? Another one? Like, dude, this is never ending. Like, I don't think I could do this. Or you could look at it like, why not me? Like, this is a time for me to learn. This is time for me to grow. Like, I'm going to get better by overcoming this, mm-hmm. right? So realizing that you need to have a growth mindset. And there's actually a good book by Carol Dweller, I believe, I want to say. It's Carol, and the last name starts with a D, but it's called Growth Mindset. It's a really good book. I'd highly recommend it. But then also realize that you have to acknowledge the small wins, right? And this is something that Nick and I, you know, have to remember to do as well, because we are individuals that just are on the go nonstop, not just in work, but like in life. Like we accomplish a goal and then we'll just, all right, cool, next one, you know, high five, next one. And we just don't really take the time to acknowledge sometimes those wins and realize that those little wins tell your subconscious that like you're doing okay, like you're doing good, keep going, right? And it allows the process to not seem as bad when you can acknowledge the small milestones that you're hitting when you're only having a marathon view.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because just earlier I had a conversation with one of the members that he asked me, you know, like, because we were talking about sleep. Oddly enough, we were talking about sleep, and I mentioned to him, like, honestly, bro, like, I don't really remember the last time like I've had more than 4 hours of sleep, you know. And he's like, that's crazy. Like, how long has it been like that? And I told him, like, honestly, since Devin and I opened the gym, like when it was just me and you, like those are the good old days, you know. And that's the thing.
That's one way to describe them.
And that's the thing. We don't realize like the good old days until they're in the past, you know. And then when he asked me that, I told him, like, you know, honestly, like my mindset, it's like at the moment when you're deep, when you're into the thick of it, when you're deep in the trenches, you know, it seems like it's a storm, you know what I mean? And going back to the two things that you asked me, it's like the discipline and the habits and the consistency is what keeps you chugging forward, right? Mm-hmm. But in looking back, and that's the thing, when you have to reflect and analyze yourself for a second and analyze the steps and the progress that you have taken, is when you realize, like, holy shit, like I am making progress. I am in the right direction. So the suck continues to suck, but that's okay. Right. Because it's actually for a reason. It's for a greater purpose. You know what I mean?
I mean, it never gets easier. It just gets different. Mm-hmm. Right.
You get stronger.
Yeah. But then again, like you get stronger. Like, let's say if you're doing it in weightlifting terms, you get stronger and then, you know, you bench press, you know, 135, right? And then you're like, man, now that's easy. So you increase the weight. Now you're at 185. That's hard at first, and then all of a sudden becomes easy and you move up. So it's, again, the struggle and the sacrifices, they grow in relation to where you are, but also you become stronger. So you don't see how big those obstacles that you are overcoming now are really in comparison to where they would have been on your scale of like difficulty in the beginning, right? Because you wouldn't be, let's say, lifting that amount of weight a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? Patty said in the comments, she said, hey guys, she's scared but excited to join the challenge. If you Finally. Guys, yeah, see, I mean, it's one of those things where we've had the challenge for a while, and, you know, she's saying that she was scared to join the challenge. I know it's going to be hard for her as a first timer, for me as a first timer, because discipline is something that I struggle with a lot. But her saying that, like, she knows that there's going to be sacrifice, right? And this is one of the points that I want to get into. Like, people fear not the process. They don't fear necessarily the time it's going to take to get to a goal. People fear the sacrifices that they're going to have to make.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, when you really look at it, it's like, okay, well, why is that a fear of yours? You can't do this thing that you used to do. You didn't always do that. There was a life before that. Right. In most cases. Right. So it's like, you have to realize that it's only a fear because it's unknown to you. It's something new. Most fears are because it is something new. It's something uncertain. It's an unsure process. You don't know what to expect. But then all of a sudden, you know, it's like the first day of school. You walk into the class, you're a little nervous, and then all of a sudden you walk in. Second day, it's not as bad. Third day, not as bad. Fourth day, you walk in, you know, and you're yelling, "What's up?"
Exactly. And like, you know, just because Patty we have a couple comments here too. But before I get to that, and like, you know, I commend Patty for finally taking that step and like gaining that courage to, you know, hold herself accountable and doing the challenge. And I know that I've had to talk with her multiple times of what was her one of her biggest fears was, like you said, like giving up the things that she was doing now. And, you know, in particular, it was more on the nutrition aspect. Right. So if we put it kind of like more in a relatable term, you know, people are, you may not even be afraid. You just don't want to, or you know, you think it sucks, or just a certain feeling of negativity towards having to apply the work. So for example, kind of like what you just said, we didn't, like, you know, kind of like what we're used to right now. Like, you're used to eating what you want when you want, and you're used to eating, you know, kind of junk food and like drinking whatever you want. But the thing is, like, you didn't come out the womb like that. Right. You know, we weren't born, or even as babies, we weren't fed junk food. So it wasn't always like that. Or even, I don't know how most, like, everybody's raised, but I know I wasn't raised like getting candy all the time. Right. You know, like my parents didn't give me candy like whenever I asked for it as a kid. They like it was like at certain times and I had to earn it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in that same sense, it's like just us realizing that it's our mindset and the structure of how we see our perception of things. Like if it wasn't always like that, there was a point before your current habits, your daily habits of going out, eating whatever you want, drinking whatever you want, it wasn't always like that. So the next question is, why can't you make the change? You know, like meaning like you can implement new changes, and then once you start building those habits and applying those skills of consistency and discipline, your norm or your standard is going to start to change. And that ultimately is what will get you to the goal that you actually want to attain. So, I mean, and just, you know, kind of a rhetorical question, it's like, you can't be afraid of your own goals. You can't be afraid of what you want. You can't be afraid of putting in the work to get what you want.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the comments?
Mariana, shout out Mariana. She said, sacrificing not eating everything I crave to obtaining. Is that cut off? Sacrificing not eating everything I crave to obtaining.
To obtain our goal?
Yeah.
I mean, most things, let's say in like the food sense, right? Like we have, like, believe me, like I saw, you know, cravings and all that kind of stuff. Like we all have them. Like Nick craves Quest cookies and cream bars left and right. You know, it's like fucking cardboard, man. It's fucking gross.
I like it.
Yeah, but I mean, no, but we all have those cravings, you know, and it's one of those things where it's for such a short time frame that when you give into the craving, realize that craving, it lasts a minute, 10 minutes, an hour, let's say, and then it subsides when you tell yourself no. And then the next time you get a craving, it might be a little bit less, and then same time the next time, and then all of a sudden you see it, you're like, oh damn, that does sound good, but I'm not going to eat it. I just don't do that, right? When you start to align, like we talked about last time, when you start to align your actions with your goals, then all of a sudden your goals become who you are, right? Because your actions become who you are, right? So if you don't eat junk food because you're trying to reach a goal, and you start to build the habit of not eating junk food, you're just a person that doesn't eat junk food, right? And it starts just to become who you are, and then it doesn't feel like such a task anymore. And the difficulty of saying no isn't as hard. You just say no and don't even think about it. I don't do that because this is who I am, or this is what I do, right? So that does become a little bit easier, but you're not alone in saying that, you know, you get cravings and it's hard. And believe me, like I love tacos, you know, and
I love ice cream.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where like I could have Mexican food every single day, right? But at the same time, I don't, right? Yeah. You know, it's not hard for me to say no either, because of how many days over and over and over again, you just opt to do the right thing.
Right. And you know what? I like that you said that, because what I want, I think you would agree on this, like what I want, like for everybody, you know, that you guys are listening, and is to understand that we can't be afraid or hold ourselves back in putting in that work, because it's not going to be perfect. Yeah. Just like Devin said, he loves Mexican food, and, you know, he loves, like, you know, sweet treats like candy apples. I know my boy loves candy apples. Like, you know, I went to Disneyland and remembered, like, I saw a candy apple. I'm like, Devin, you know, and like me, ice cream. I love ice cream.
You all heard it right here. He's basically trying to act against my goals.
That's how it's said. But it's in realizing that, you know, it's not going to be perfect, especially if our goal is, like, you know, in this instance that we're talking about, it's like, you know, eating properly, or eating better than what you're used to eating. You're not going to eat perfectly every single day. Yeah. Right? Okay. Well, if we're not even saying eat chicken and broccoli, like, you'll never hear us say that. But there are going to be times where you're going to fail, or those cravings are going to get better of you. But when you put in the work and make the sacrifices and make that conscious effort to do the right thing and what you're supposed to do, it's like collecting dubs. Like what we mentioned, collecting wins. Sorry.
What'd you say?
Dubs. Like
they said ducks.
No, dubs. Like collecting wins.
I was like, that must be a Filipino.
No. What is it called? But collecting wins. It's like you want to win more battles than losing them. Does that make sense? Like,
well, yeah.
Like, well, what I'm saying is, when we win, pretty much, like, more of those struggles or more of those sacrifices when we do come across that time of weakness or of that moment where you're asked to sacrifice what you want in the short term to gain the long term benefit of it. It's like what you had mentioned earlier, like when it becomes easier to say no. It becomes easier to say no because it's who you are now. But you become that person, or you gain those habits, not because you did it. That's the part I'm trying to get to. Not because you did it 100% out of 100%, right? It's just because you put in enough effort that you overcame, those instances, and you made those sacrifices enough times, more than you faltered or you gave up, so that now it is who you are. That's how you create who you are, or the habits that you have. It's just us understanding that, okay, if I can get over this hurdle right now, you collect that as a win. And then you do it again next time. You want junk food, you get over it. It's like, you have alternatives, and it's like, turn to those better alternatives, and you win that time. And then the next time you might fail. You might have a really bad craving or whatever, or you're at a party. It's like, it happens, it happens. But then you move forward from it. You take another step and then realize what just happened, so you can make the better choice next time. And if you look at that, and then when you look back at that and you kind of put it on a scale, oh, I've had way more wins than losses when it came to those sacrifices or those crossroads. Ultimately, you'll start to realize, like, okay, it's a lot easier for me to say no now than it was when I first started.
Yeah, right. It's an accumulation. Like, if you do better more days than you don't do good, like, you're going to move forward, and then you're going to start to self-analyze, and then you'll realize, damn, if I just did better more of the days than I did in the previous week, let's say it was a 4-to-3 ratio, right? 4 good days, 3 bad days, and I moved forward a little bit. Damn, if I just did 1 less bad day and I did 5 good days, 2 bad days, all of a sudden, damn, I moved even further, like even faster. All of a sudden it starts to click. And then you're like, damn, like, I'm starting to see the results. I know if I just give up these last 2 days, like, all of a sudden I'm going to really start, like, almost like running downhill, right? The momentum starts to kick in. And I want to kind of point out a topic that, we had talked about as well, like off camera and stuff, but it's about respecting yourself, right? It's about your actions are not just, do they align with your goals and do they do this and stuff like that, but realize that, like, your actions and your mindset and how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, and that's through your actions, right? If you're having these cheat meals and stuff because you're giving into it that easily, and you're not allowing your mindset and stuff to grow, how much value do you think that brings you? What is your perceived value of yourself? Because honestly, like, you can, like, anyone that's listening right now, like, you can do anything you put your mind to, 100%, right?
We believe in you.
Yeah, we believe in you. Like, and if you don't believe in yourself yet, like, realize that we believe in you. And we've seen it time and time again in the fitness, in the fitness space. I've seen it in the business space, and even Nick, I know he has friends that are entrepreneurs too. Like, we've seen people fucking launch businesses and go from nothing to successful, right? If you don't think you can do something, then you can't.
Yeah. And right? I think too that mindset of like, your perception of your own value. It's like, if you think you can't do something, that's because of the actions that you've done previously. If you're afraid to hold yourself accountable, to eat right, to work out consistently, why is that? You weren't born to think that way. It's because all the actions that you've taken leading up to that moment, or this moment right now, is you making not the best decisions, the wrong decisions. Like, whenever you want junk food, you had it. Whenever you want to drink, you had it. You don't want to work out, you feel lazy, you feel tired, all the bullshit excuses, you gave up. You called it quits, right? And that's why I think when we're at that point, and I'm sure everybody can relate, and it's okay. Like, that's why we have kind of like that, at least like in that avenue, like, we may have like a lower, perception of ourselves. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, you can change, like, you can make how you see yourself better but that's by doing the actions little by little, taking the step. Like, you got to tell yourself, like, okay, I want to not be this way. I want to make better choices. But the person that's making the choices when you're at those crossroads is you.
Yeah, and I want to like add right onto that, because I felt like that's where you were going, and I agree with 100% with that. And I want you to realize, like, the first step to this mindset like shift, right? Because a lot of people are like, okay, that's cool. How do I start thinking like that? The first step of it is realizing that it's your fault. It is your fault when you do good. It is your fault also when you don't do good, when you fail, right? But it is also your fault if you succeed, because you got up again, right? And realize that you're like, this is the one thing. I mean, I've been a trainer for, almost like a decade and a half, right? And I've had clients in the past, say that, oh, you're tough and you're heartless. And no, it's because I don't fucking accept excuses, right? The reason I don't accept excuses is because I don't give excuses myself. And it's because there was an action that led to that thing. I understand that things come up and stuff like that, but if you didn't, lose weight, it's because you didn't do something, or you were doing too much of something, eating, right? Right? Fuck, like, and so it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't need to know that, oh, so-and-so peer pressured me into this, and oh, it's, so-and-so's birthday. Those are all fucking excuses. I'm okay with that same exact scenario if you basically said, look, I messed up. I went to, so-and-so's birthday. It was my fault. And boom, awesome. That's the first step of a growth mindset too, is like realizing that it is your fault and that you are the one that has the power to change it. When someone puts the excuse or the blame on someone or something else, like that, honestly, it annoys me more than anything, because you allowed it to happen. Mm-hmm. No one made you go to that thing. No one made you eat that fucking cake, right? You decided to eat it. And that's okay, as long as you're willing to admit that you wanted to eat it, right? Like, that's fine, because now you start to tell yourself that I made the mistake, I did this, and now you can correct what you did. But when you blame other people or you blame other events, you can't correct what someone else did. I can't control Nick. He can't control me, right? We control ourselves, and that's why we continue to move forward, because we both know it's our fault when we don't do something. We don't put the blame on, a family member, my daughter or whatever. Like, no, it's fucking my fault, right? And once you start to realize that, that's what allows you to actually start to shift your mindset and grow your mindset and realize that you can change any area of your life if you're willing to admit and take responsibility for your actions or inactions.
Right. And I think that's something that, like, if I can, like the deepest part of my heart to extend to everybody out there, whether you're in the gym with us or if you just hear this like podcast now or at a later point, it's like, you guys and we, every individual should have the highest standard and the highest perception of yourself. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, when you're about to, I don't want to get a little dark, but when you're about to die, there was no one else there except you. You know what I mean? So that whole no regret like aspect of it, it's like we should hold ourselves with the highest we should have the highest perception of ourselves. So, and for that to happen, it's kind of understanding that those actions, like you just said, like like taking accountability, but then correcting it, making the conscious decision to want to do the right, not just to want, but to do the right thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, like if you're feeling kind of, like, oh, I want this right now, but it's like, if you let that short time frame of weakness subside and you accomplish a goal and you made those proper sacrifices, and it's like, oh, I went to that party, but I didn't eat that. I stuck to my meal plan. I went consistently to the gym this week against all odds that you were feeling that week, right? You actually feel better. And the reason why we feel better is because internally we know what we did was right, and we did what we really actually wanted to do deep down inside.
Yeah.
It's like you want the short-term thing, which is the cake, or you go out to eat or skip out on a workout. But the long-term thing is achieving your goal. And when you make the right decision in those moments when it matters the most, you actually, I don't know about you guys, but I know you feel so much better. So much better than as if you put that damn cookie in your mouth right now.
Yeah, I mean, what's going to feel better, like that instant gratification or the feeling of accomplishing a goal that's going to last more than just, 30 seconds? But let's get some comments in there.
Natalie said, I think luck happens when preparation aligns with opportunity, while hard work stems from dedication and discipline. That's very true. Very on point. Do you believe in luck?
Say it again.
Oh, I
know,
thought crossed my mind. She said, I think luck happens when preparation aligns with opportunity, while hard work stems from dedication and discipline.
I mean, yes, I think I would even combine both of them, right? Because luck or preparation is hard work, right? And when you are someone that does prepare and, keeps yourself prepared in basically whether it's getting ready for the next day or, work or whatever, your workouts, you're taking your gym clothes with you for, tomorrow, whatever. Those kind of actions allow you to put in the discipline and put in the actual work that needs to be done, which creates the opportunity, right? Because again, you're putting yourself in the place that you need to be at the right time, right? So again, luck is one of those things that is created just like an opportunity is created. And if we're looking at like an equation, luck equals opportunity, right? So I don't believe like luck is just like a nice little cute word, but opportunity is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
Right. You had the opportunity, right? You got luck because you were in the right place at the right time because you aligned everything and you were prepared to be there.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of it too, the preparation. It's like you were able to take advantage of that opportunity because you put in the work to be prepared.
Right.
So yeah. So to answer like my question to you was, it's opportunity, not luck. We don't believe in luck around here.
Yeah.
You make your own luck.
Yeah, 100%. Like luck is created, just like opportunities are created by the work that you did do or did not do, allowing you to be in a place that you are or aren't.
Yep. I agree. Miriam said, I really need to work on my relationship with food. That's very relatable. And I think, and I like just to address that, like, I think you've made great, tremendous progress, with the nutrition side. And I know that because everybody here, all the trainers at the gym have, kind of are there for you and have been, putting in the right guidance to pretty much like put in the right steps. And also obviously your own conscious hard work that you put in to make the right decision when preparing your food and like coming across those instances where you can easily falter. But I think as far as like working, but I like how she said working on my relationship, because at least Miriam, like you understand that it'll take your understanding of the effort and actions that is required to have, a better outcome as far as like the overall nutrition aspect of it.
And Patty's right in line with you. You guys need to connect because she also said, I feel like I just did that. I wanted some Tommy's, but I told myself I don't need it. Patty, that's fucking disgusting. Tommy's is fucking disgusting. I don't understand. Like my wife and her family like it too. Honestly, I'm glad you didn't do it, Patty. Is all I'm saying.
If I had Tommy's, I'd be gone for a week. You could catch me in the bathroom.
But honestly, like other people that are in the gym, especially during the challenge, that's why we created like the exclusive, challenge page, which now I'm thinking too, like, since this is a comment, I'm kind of thinking out loud. So you guys all get to experience what happens, on a daily basis. What we should probably create too, like how we have the fitness community page, how they have those like chats or whatever, the private chats you can have it in a group. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Like an exclusive chat or something, but almost one for like, I'm going to label it foodies right now for poor word choices, but like things like, who mentioned it last week? Natalie and ice cream thing.
Oh yeah, her sister.
Yeah.
It was Mariana and Alejandra.
Oh, that's what it was. Like that, or even, you know, Patty, like if you're craving Tommy's and you all of a sudden mention in this chat, essentially, people can kind of give you alternatives or create a little support system. So I think we should,
I like that.
I think we should, we're going to create that. So that's something new we're going to create right now, just on the spot.
I'll add that to the list. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And we will hopefully we want you to join that, because I think everybody will benefit in a community of positive reinforcement and help. You know, when you're feeling a moment of weakness, like, you know, just go in the chat and then, like, you know, what's an alternative for this and that. And a perfect example, because Patty, you're on the spot now. The weekend of the dodgeball game, Patty was here working out, and as we were already closing up, me and G were closing up before we went to the dodgeball game. Patty was like, I'm hungry. I'm going to go get some food. And I was like, Patty, Patty was on my team. For people that weren't at the dodgeball, Patty was on my team. And I was like, Patty, you're about to go play dodgeball right now, and you can't eat anything bad. And she mentioned something that she wanted to get that was like absurd. I forgot what it was, but it was something like super junky. And I was like, if you're starving, why don't you go have like a banana? She was like, I'm gonna go to Starbucks. I was like, okay, you can go to Starbucks. But I don't know what your initial intention of ordering, but you can get something small, like those egg bite things, you know. And she's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But things like that, you know what I mean? Like, that's why, like, I think having an environment, being included in an environment that's able to give help and positive, you know, reinforcement should definitely help. Because in those, everybody faces moments of weakness, but again, understanding that it is going to take work to overcome those moments of weaknesses is what is required for you to overcome them.
Yeah, I mean, and like the little chat thing too would be not just for overcoming, like, you know, your moment of weakness, but also like if you find a little cool food hack or, you know, a recipe or something like that, you can throw it in there for other people to utilize as well. Patty also said purple cobras.
That's right. If you guys don't know, just saying it out there. If you didn't go to the Strive dodgeball game, yeah, my team undefeated. Millie said, yes, our mind is a powerful tool, 100%. And she actually also said, show up for yourself always, no matter what. That's what I'm talking about. Yep. Don't get me all hyped up, because if we talking about self-confidence and hyping yourself up, I'm all for that. Because honestly, like, the work can't be put in by anybody else, you know. And the amount of work that you put in is, you know, on an external factor of it, it's like only you know, like, if that was your 100% full effort of work that you could have provided in that moment. You know what I mean? So, and honestly, like, it is all like physical and like what you do, but it, like Millie said, it starts up here, bro. Like, I think to me, anything, it's like, get your mind right first, and you can, you know, execute.
And realize it takes time sometimes. Like, not every craving, not every habit is going to be a one time and all of a sudden it's easy. Realize that you need to have active patience, right? You keep doing it, and you basically fake it until you make it, and you keep doing it and keep doing it and tell yourself that it's easy, even though you know deep down it's hard. And then all of a sudden, before you realize it, it gets easy, right? And it's not a delusion that it truly does, but it's one of those things where you have to put the time in and have to put the effort in day after day for it to become that way, right? A skill wasn't, you know, you didn't learn how to talk the first time someone talked to you, right? You didn't learn how to write the first time you saw a book. It takes time and it takes effort over and over and over again for you to get any skill, any habit, any craving that you want to basically eliminate. It takes time, right? Yeah. So I just want to say, like, realize that there is a variable of patience and a variable of time that you do have to wait sometimes. And that's okay. Everyone has to go through it. There's different lengths for everyone, but that's where you're also going to have to realize that comparison is the thief of joy. So just because they may have started at the same time as you, but they might be succeeding or seeing more results than you now, don't start comparing yourself to them, because then you're going to start getting into your own head and you're going to start, you know, creating some negative self-talk. But then also you're going to lose a little motivation, or in some cases you might lose a little motivation, because you're like, wow, like, I must not be doing it right, or I can't do this. You know, look at them, like, they're doing it right, or they're made for this. No, you are too. Sometimes it just takes a little fucking longer. Yeah. Right. Sometimes your body just takes a little bit longer. Sometimes a skill just takes a little bit longer for you to learn, and that's fine. It's, did you get to the end goal? It's not, did you get to the end goal at the same time as everyone else? Did you finish the race?
Yeah,
is what matters.
And to add on to the aggressive patience that you said.
I said active patience.
Or active patience. Well, the word aggressive came to my head because of what I'm about to say.
You're always aggressive.
Business has taught me a lot.
You're the non-aggressive one out of us two.
I know, I'm internally, that's, don't switch me off. But like you said, active patience. And you mentioned the word hard earlier, right? And like we mentioned, you want to have the highest perception of yourself. You want to have the highest value of yourself. But sometimes, actually not sometimes, most of the time, especially within yourself, you have to be straight up. Like, you have to be straight up with yourself. You said the word hard, and it's like, what the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was like, choose your fucking hard, bro. And then don't, like, if it hurt your feelings, like, I'm sorry. Like, you can have this, actually, I'm not sorry. You have this conversation within yourself. It's like, you choose the hard. Is it hard to not do what you want? And then you look at the mirror and then you don't like what you see, or you don't feel good. Or like, even if like you're trying to do an activity with your family or do something or provide some kind of service where you're required to be your best self, but you're not. That's hard. Mm-hmm. Or do you want to choose the hard where it's like, it's hard at the moment, or it's hard to do the work that's required, but when you overcome those hard moments, you guys are still see us? It says still live. So yeah, choose your hard. So it's either hard in the long term when you never do anything about it and you don't put in the work required, or is it just a small, brief perception of hard to overcome these hurdles, and then it's not hard anymore because you're actually gaining the long-term benefit of overcoming these hurdles?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think.
Yes, G, the chat will be on the app. Wait, the chat's gonna be on Facebook, Instagram, both.
What?
G was like, will the chat be on the app?
What app?
That's what I was wondering.
No, the chat. No, so the chat we're talking about, not on the meal plan app, I'm assuming is what you're talking about.
Oh.
No, it's like we were talking about for the Facebook group, how we have it's called the Fitness Community by Strive 11 Fitness. And so in that is basically sharing your fitness wins, sharing, different workouts and all that kind of stuff, and, connecting outside and just living an active lifestyle, right? But within that Facebook group, that free Facebook group, we're going to create a chat within that Facebook group that allows you to basically, use basically Facebook's Messenger or whatever to do these things, right? So it'll be a chat within that.
Facebook.
Yeah. So going back into like what we were kind of talking about, the hard thing, it's like being fit and having a six pack, it's hard, right? It's hard to maintain, it's hard to get, but being fat is also hard, right? Like, just straight up, right? Take the sugar coating off of it. Being fat is hard. Being fit is hard. Being broke is hard, but being rich is also hard. They both have their different hards. And in life, you have your choice to choose which hard you want to go, right? Do you want to not do the work to put in to get to the result that you want because it's hard and you have to sacrifice for it? Well, then you're going to live in a harder place because you're basically not where you want to be physically, mentally, financially, whatever, right? So again, there's hards in everything that you want to accomplish or you're too scared to accomplish. You just got to choose what's going to happen with you, right? What is your life going to look like?
What life do you want for yourself?
Yeah.
That's a serious question. Millie dropped a comment. Shout out, Millie. It usually takes 21 to 28 days to create a new habit. Once you have completed that, it really does get easier. 100%. And that, that definitely goes into what we were saying, that once those habits that are put in and that you've created for yourself, that's you now. Those are like your daily things. It still requires work to maintain that, but our perception or amount of effort to put in to, you know, keep doing those habits don't seem as hard because they've just like Devin has mentioned before, now it's just part of your routine, right? And then from there, and that's like the most amazing thing about progress is now you can add on brick by brick. It's like you can add new habits, start working on new habits that will require more work to add on to the current work that you're doing. But since you have that now it's part of you, you have that capacity to apply more, to gain more.
Honestly, I thought when you were saying the awesome thing about progress, and I honestly thought you were about to be like, now you progressed. But no, with that being said, guys, just realize that there's a sacrifice to anything that you want in life, right? And whether you realize that or not, that is the truth. And you have to realize that there is a process to everything in life. And during that process, you're going to either be willing to make the sacrifices to continue down that journey to your goal, or you're not going to make the sacrifices and realize that that's where your journey stops up to that goal. So you have to make that decision. No one can make it for you. No motivational thing is going to give it to you, right? Those little highs that you read a quote and it's like, oh, that's so awesome. I'm going to go to the gym today. Well, guess what? What about tomorrow, right? You have to make the conscious decision that you're willing to go through and sacrifice certain things to achieve the desired goals in your life, right? How do you want your life to be is all developed through your actions or inactions. But with that being said, make sure you guys share this episode with a friend. Make sure you guys share this episode with your mom, brother, sister, father, boyfriend, girlfriend, lover. But with that being said, we love all you guys. We appreciate the support, and see you guys on the next one.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Just in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be